qui.
The story begins on the day a group of college students head into the Amazon rainforest. They have heard that a company is planning illegal development on this land. Driven by a strong sense of justice, the students put on matching uniforms. They plan to expose the company's destruction of nature through a live stream on their phones. Before long, they arrive at the developer's construction site. Seeing this, the group quickly puts on masks. They then use chains to lock themselves to the trees. They begin broadcasting the company's actions to the world. At that moment, they detonate explosives that had been planted in advance. Not long after, mercenaries rush to the scene, but seeing that the students are all recording, no one dares to act recklessly, because this operation clearly violates international agreements protecting the Amazon. However, since everyone is locked in place, they cannot be removed. Just then, Justine's chain suddenly malfunctions. Facing the armed leader, she is frozen in fear. What she never expected is that at this critical moment, her companions completely ignore her safety and continue streaming. It turns out Justine's father works at the United Nations. Charles specifically brought Justine here because of her identity. When the leader hears the words United Nations, he becomes visibly uneasy. Soon, he receives a phone call, seemingly from a higher authority. After the call, the leader reluctantly lets them go. At that moment, Justine finally realizes the truth. Her companions used her father's status to stop the company from continuing the development, which means their plan has succeeded. Soon, the local military arranges a plane to send the students back home. On the plane, everyone celebrates this victory with excitement. Only Justine looks troubled and unhappy. Just then, something unexpected happens. The aircraft begins to shake violently and rapidly descends. A small number of people survive the crash, but they are all seriously injured. They help each other out of the wreckage. At that moment, they hear movement approaching. The sound of the crash has attracted nearby natives. When they wake up, they find themselves deep in a primitive tribe in the forest.
Fire!
The tribespeople are extremely excited. They rush forward and surround them. At first, the students have no idea that these people are a dangerous cannibal tribe. Until they are taken deeper into the village, they see several human skeletons tied to tree trunks on both sides. This discovery completely breaks their composure. Soon, a well-dressed older woman walks out of a hut. She strikes the ground twice with her cane, and the area instantly falls silent. It turns out she is the respected leader of the tribe. Whenever prey is captured, she decides who will be eaten. Due to the lack of preservation methods, they keep extra food in cages so that it stays fresh for the next time. Next, they force Lars to drink a special brew. This is meant to prepare him for what comes next. But Lars has no idea what is happening. He is then held down tightly by several strong men. He looks desperately toward his companions in the cage, but they have no idea what the tribe intends to do. After Lars is taken apart, the women in the cooking area quickly begin preparing the meat with salt. As they work, they whisper about how to process it. Seeing this frightening scene, everyone in the cage imagines themselves in his place and completely breaks down. Among them, Amy can no longer hold it in and looks extremely uncomfortable. Before the trip, she ate something bad and now urgently needs to use the bathroom. Everyone quickly moves away. Amy falls into deep self-blame. Now, even something as basic as going to the bathroom has become an unbearable problem. Soon, night falls. Without electricity, the tribespeople dance wildly around the fire. The students take this chance to discuss a possible escape. At this moment, Daniel says that if they can find the missing GPS device, they might have a chance to leave the forest. But Charles says their best option is to stay in the cage, because the rescue team will arrive in 2 days. Everyone is confused. It turns out this environmental action organized by Charles was funded by a rival company. The competitor wants to take exclusive control of the resources, so the sponsor came up with a plan and found Charles. In the end, Charles used online influence to make it happen. However, the plane that was shot down on the return trip was meant to eliminate the sponsor who knew too much, and also to wipe out everyone in this tribe. Although they now have a glimmer of hope, the naive Justine, after learning the truth, cannot help but criticize Charles's character and almost attacks him. The next morning, as soon as Justine opens her eyes, she sees a young boy crouching beside her. He keeps playing with the pendant around her neck. Seeing that he means no harm, Justine uses a small flute to play a gentle melody to entertain him. But soon, a butcher walks in. He scans the area and decisively takes 3 girls from the cage. The girls have no idea what the tribe intends to do, but remembering what happened to Lars, they are overwhelmed with fear. Fortunately, the tribe does not immediately harm them. Instead, under the leader's orders, they are forced to remove their clothing. One by one, they are examined for a ritual requirement. It turns out the tribe has a rule for young women. Before adulthood, they must undergo a traditional ritual. However, many do not survive after the ceremony. Justine is taken away as a candidate for the ritual. The other 2 girls are thrown back into the cage. At that moment, heavy rain begins to pour over the village. Seeing most of the tribespeople retreat into their huts, Tara, unable to stay still, decides to try to escape. They notice that a few guards are still watching the area, so Daniel adjusts the sound on his phone and throws it aside.
What am I?
Not long after, Justine, who had been taken away alone, returns to the cage with makeup on. When they see another tribal girl outside the cage dressed the same way as Justine, everyone finally realizes that the tribe is preparing to carry out a ritual on them. At that moment, several children bring bowls of food and hand them over. The students haven't eaten all day, so they start eating whatever is given to them. Daniel says it is probably wild boar meat, and if they want to escape, they will need energy. Amy, sitting in the corner, is a vegetarian, but in the end, she still forces herself to swallow the meat. However, right after finishing the soup, Amy notices a familiar tattoo. It turns out to be a piece of skin that belonged to Kara, who had escaped earlier, because the 2 of them were in a relationship. Amy's will completely collapses. She suddenly smashes the bowl and seriously harms herself. By the time the others realize what happened, Amy is no longer breathing. Not wanting her death to be in vain, they place a packet of substances into her throat. Its main effect is to cause strong hallucinations. Soon, the butcher comes to inspect. Only then does he realize that Amy is no longer alive. They place her into the furnace. Thick smoke quickly rises. The tribespeople smell it and become intensely affected. They can no longer control themselves and begin fighting over it. For a moment, the entire tribe loses control. Some even collapse into unconsciousness. Seeing this, the people in the cage quickly seize the chance to escape. Charles hesitates, afraid that if he stays behind, no one will come back for him. Daniel is furious at this, but there is no time to argue. They can only take advantage of the chaos and flee into the forest. When the affected man wakes up again, he sees 2 tribespeople crouching in front of him. They keep smiling blankly, clearly still under the influence. Meanwhile, Daniel and the others who escaped finally reach the crash site before nightfall. If they can find the lost GPS device, they might still have a chance to be rescued. The good news is that Daniel quickly finds it, but the bad news is that it has no battery and is powered off. Just when they are running out of options, Justine hears a ringing sound. She follows it and finds a phone in a dead teammate's pocket. However, the noise alerts several tribespeople nearby. When Justine wakes up again, it is already early the next morning. She has been washed and is about to undergo the ritual. Justine cries out in panic, calling Daniel's name. At that moment, Daniel is being punished. The butcher strikes his joints with a bone tool. Then he spreads a green paste over Daniel's body. Soon, swarms of ants are drawn to the scent and begin crawling over him. At the same time, Justine hears his agonized screams, but she has no time to think about others, because the leader has already prepared the tools and is about to begin the ritual on her. Just then, a tribesman rushes in and interrupts. He is carrying a worker's head. This means a new construction team has entered the forest. The tribespeople become extremely excited. To them, this means a new source of food. At the leader's command, everyone picks up spears and bows. They head out, both to hunt and to defend their territory, with most of them gone. Only a few guards remain behind. At that moment, the young boy quietly unties Justine. Justine then goes outside and finds Daniel barely alive. Daniel tells her to take the phone from his pocket. He asks her to end his suffering. Justine cannot do it and keeps shaking her head, but the boy seems to understand. He uses something to put Daniel to sleep. At that moment, Charles, still in the cage, starts shouting. He begs Justine to set him free, but after learning the truth about him, Justine feels nothing but anger. She turns away without hesitation. Before leaving, Justine gives her beloved flute to the boy as a way of thanking him. Soon, after making her way through the forest, she follows the sound of gunfire and finds the place where mercenaries are fighting the tribe. One of the mercenaries notices Justine's unusual appearance, but she stays calm and shouts that she is American. She then shows her phone to prove her identity. One of the leaders recognizes her. He destroys her phone. Then he orders his men to take Justine to the helicopter and evacuate her. Before leaving, the person in charge specifically asks if there are any others still there. Justine coldly replies no, and leaves. Below, Charles watches the helicopter fly away. All he can do is cling to the cage and scream. Justine returns to her country. She is interviewed by many officials. Because of this incident, she becomes widely known online and turns into an environmental figure to protect her reputation and public image. When people ask about the fate of the others, Justine lies and says they all died in the crash. She says that without the help of the local people, she would not have survived the rainforest. So Justine calls on organizations around the world to protect the village and its cultural heritage. Perhaps this is her way of repaying the boy who once saved her. At the end of the story, Justine receives a call one night from Charles's sister. Excited, the sister says over the phone that she may have found her brother through satellite images. In the photo, Charles's body is covered in dark paint. It seems he has taken the place of the tribe's butcher because Charles understands some of the tribe's language. In order to survive, he has chosen to become one of them.